Well, hello there, everybody. I did that wrong. That's how this is how it goes. Well, hello there, everybody. Happy October, Shocktober, Halloween season. It's my favorite season of the year. And if you're here, it might be yours also, or maybe you're just Halloween curious. I don't know. I feel like I'm very far away. Get to see my tummy this time. Pause for this commercial break. All right, and as it is the tradition here at the KBVC is to watch the Universal Classic Monster Movies. If you like classic movies, if you like scary movies, if you like black and white movies, I would definitely check out these movies because they're good. Sorry, I was laughing at Frankenstein there. I didn't realize I was doing the Frankenstein, but I'm doing the Frankenstein there. Hey, everybody! Hello there, as his nephew would say. Okay, and so last year we were making our way through the thing. I just want to point out to you, the viewers who are going to watch these movies, hopefully you should, that there's 30 of them, 30 film collection, and there are 30 days in October before Halloween. So you can watch them one a day before Halloween. That is my dream to do. But since I'm watching and recording videos, I cannot do that yet. Maybe when I get all these done in 5 or 6 years. This year, we did Dracula last year, as you probably noticed by the numbering system. And this year, we are working on the main monster of the series. He is the face. I said the main monster, but basically the face of Universal Classic Monsters is Frankenstein. I mean, they're all great. I love them all equally ish. But they definitely, the one that they're going to put forward most is going to be Frankenstein. It's the quick, easily identifiable. All right, so we're making our way through the Frankenstein section, the complete legacy collection. All 8 films, 8 movies in 30 days. That's impossible. No. For me, if you're not keeping track, and it's probably hard to, you really have no idea how many videos I've recorded and posted. The ratio is not just because I record a video doesn't mean it's going to get posted that month. But I'm going to do my darndest to get through the Frankenstein Legacy Collection, all 8 movies from 1931 to 1948. You might be asking yourself, what are those 8 movies? What can we look forward to? And I'll tell you what. We got Frankenstein. We got Bride of Frankenstein. We've got Son of Frankenstein. Oh, is it the Bride of Frankenstein? I thought it was just Bride of Frankenstein. Anyway, I made the camera refocus. The Ghost of Frankenstein. Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. House of Frankenstein. House of Dracula. Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. Now I know last year we did the House movies. And Abbott Costello meet Frankenstein. But I believe hopefully I focus mostly on Dracula, and this time I hope to focus mostly on the Frankenstein monster part. Monster part. And it's got all the movies on there. You got Frankenstein by itself. You got Bride of Frankenstein by itself. You can kind of see her face going up there. And then you got Son and Ghost chilling out. And then you got 3 on this one. Frankenstein meets Wolfman, House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula. And of course, Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. Chet! Chet! Chet. Chet. Chet is what I said there. All 8 films of the legacy of the original Frankenstein in HD. The original Frankenstein's monster is one of the silver screen's most unforgettable characters, and along with the other Universal Classic monsters, we won't want to forget these guys. Come on, it's all one big happy group. Defined the Hollywood horror genre, definitely for the 30s and 40s and beyond. I would say it's a legacy collection. I mean, it's definitely influenced further past. Although, sorry, I was just thinking about 80s horror movies. You don't quite see the connection between 80s horror movies, you know, drunk, half naked teenagers getting slashed up, to these movies. These movies are classic. Anyway, sorry. But they do. It owes to. I mean, it probably would have happened eventually. Somebody else might have done it, but I'm glad that Universal did it, and I'm glad that you got him. I'm watching him. Anyway, I got completely lost with Frankenstein Complete Legacy Collection includes all 8 films from the original Legacy, including the tragic classic starring Boris Karloff and the timeless films that followed. These landmark motion pictures defined the iconic look of Henry Frankenstein's monster and his bride, and continued to inspire countless remakes and adaptations that strengthen the legend of Frankenstein to this day. I'm going to say, especially those movies in the 40s, really brought the brand of Frankenstein monster to the populace more so. I mean, the classic, the original Frankenstein, which I'm about to talk about in a little bit, is, in my opinion, a timeless movie. Enjoy it every time I've seen it. But then again, I like to watch these movies, so maybe I'm not the best judge. So this is, I got them on Blu-ray. I haven't watched them on Blu-ray yet, so I'm going to do that. Excited for that. I'm going to hold off that for a second. One of the things I like to do that I did for the Dracula one, and I'm going to do for Frankenstein too, is here's the old DVD box set, the DVD Legacy Collection, and I am in love with what they did art style wise, packaging wise for the DVD. You can't quite see it because of all the lights and the reflective material stuff. But you've got the thing there, and you've got, Frankenstein's. I guess that's the watchtower from the first Frankenstein movie, I guess. And then you got Frankenstein, and his mother was the lightning. Frankenstein was his father, but his mother was the lightning. And then you slide out, and then the portfolio of it, and then it breaks open, and you got the inside there. And then I'm gonna go ahead and pop these guys out. I really like the art design on this boxes set, so I'm gonna show it off for just this episode. Probably not the other episodes. It's moving. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. Frankenstein. Henry Frankenstein. It's one movie club.
It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
But I do find this to be a better Legacy Collection, not only because it's in Blu-ray, but it has every movie that Frankenstein was in, the Frankenstein monster was in. Whereas this one just has Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Son of, Ghost of, House of. So no love for Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. And no Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. So that's nice. I mean, they're pretty much like, if you want those, you'll have to buy the Abbott Costello one separately. You'll have to get the Wolfman Legacy Collection, and you'll have to get the Dracula Legacy Collection. And then, it's like that. And then it's like, oh, wait, you'll want to get these guys too. 5 film, 4 film. So, which, I mean, if you get the box set, I guess you could be a little bit annoyed with the fact that there's so much repeating on the Blu-rays. And maybe that's why they had it on sale, because you're like, It's still 30 movies. Yeah. But you've got a lot of repeat. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. It wasn't a very long pause for you because I'm going to cut that. I might even cut me telling you I'm going to cut it. But yeah, it's a very long thing. And then, for example, this has been my beef with Blu-ray from the beginning, has been the lack of presentation. You've got a lot of nice stuff. It's there's art to that. Not to say there's not art to this, but it's just like, okay, we're just going to do the front and back cover, and then the inside's going to have all the information on it, and it's going to be, blocked by discs, and they're going to flap open, kind of thing. But I'm here to talk about the original Frankenstein movie. Okay, so Frankenstein. I'm gonna put this guy. Well, no, I'm gonna hang out with it. I'm gonna go say Frankenstein. Maybe that's my thumbnail. Thumbnail. A good cast is worth repeating, as they say at the end of the movie, and I'm gonna tell you who it is right now. Colin Clive plays Henry Frankenstein. Mae Clark plays Elizabeth, his fiancée. We don't care about her maiden name. Really, this isn't about her. It's about a man and his monster, not a man and his fiancée. John Bowles. Yeah, Bowles. Victor Mortiz, question mark, as the monster. No, this is the end credits. And we all know, it says it doesn't say it there, but it says it on the DVD right there. Boris Karloff, Frankenstein's monster. This plays the monster. Anyway, the name of the movie is Frankenstein. Is it about the guy? Is it about Colin Clive, Henry, or is it about the monster? Boris Karloff, career-making role. Edward Van Sloan. Sorry, it auto corrected that, spell checked it to saloon, but it's Sloan. Edward Van Sloan. As Dr. Waldman, Frederick Kerr as the Baron Frankenstein. So Frankenstein's dad, Grandpa Frankenstein. Dwight Fry is Fritz. And Lionel Belmore, I always want to say Lionel Barrymore, but it's Lionel Belmore as the Burgermeister. Yeah, I say Burgermeister instead of Burgomeister. Burgomaster. The Burgomaster. I always say Burgermaster. Why? Because I'm from Middle America. And Little Maria is played by Marilyn Harris. And there are other people in this movie who actually have speaking parts, but we didn't. That's just what it says at the end of the cast. So I'm just doing the end of the cast. Yeah, directed by James Whale. Cannot overlook his imprint on this movie, because I feel like he imprinted on this movie. And of course, produced by Carl Laemmle Jr. And of course, Carl Laemmle was the head of Universal at that time, and Junior was in charge of the production and stuff, and he's the one who really was like, horror's the way to go. Like, I don't know. Oh, it made us a million. One or two, I can't remember which, but that 1933 money is 1931 money. Sorry, I watched a 1933 movie last night. Mystery at the Wax Museum. Pretty good. Check it out. 1933, 31, Wax Museum 33, Frankenstein 31. Based on the novel by Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley. Yeah, written by screenplay by Garrett Fort and Francis. I can't read Francis's last name. Sorry, Francis. Also based on the play by Peggy Webling, adapted by John L. Balderson. There you go. You wanted all that information, didn't you? I hope so. We're talking Frankenstein's monster. Can I put that any place where it'll be in frame? Who knows with me? Who knows? I already got it up other places, so probably not. Perfect. Auto blur the thing there. There's a lot of stuff that we can talk about, but let's talk about the movie. Um, Starts off with a funeral scene. Time out there because I was editing this and I forgot. I completely blew over the warning at the beginning of the movie. Content warning comes out. Edward Van Sloan comes out behind a curtain because even back in those days, there's a little more presentation in movies, and a lot of them were theaters that were live action plays and stuff like that. Theaters that got converted into movie houses, so they had the big curtain reveal and a bit up curtain up and down that you don't have in your modern multiplex. Anyway, so Sloan comes out. He's all like, I must warn you that this is a very delicate situation, and I don't remember what he says. I'm sorry at this point, but it's very famous. It's been copied a couple of times, most notably in The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. I think the first one, Marge comes out and does the same thing, and it's like, well, you've been warned. Yeah, the podcast, the Borgo Pass, had it as their opening for a long time. Yeah, I didn't want to gloss over that. It's like, but no, hold on. Can't forget the parental warning at the beginning of the movie. This was before the ratings board happened. And the other thing I want to say, just so I know, I refer to the big guy here. I will refer to him in this video as Frankenstein, Frankenstein's monster, Frankenstein's creature, or the creature, the monster. But yeah, I do call him occasionally Frankenstein. I know that it is Frankenstein's monster, is what he's named. I don't need comments. That's not the kind of comments I need below. I need interesting fact things and other things that I got wrong. Not the nitpicky name calling stuff. I'll do that myself. Well, actually, it's the Frankenstein monster, not Frankenstein. Like, why did I leave myself that comment? That's silly. Anyway, okay. Back to the review. And it shows, people go up and they're burying somebody and they're doing the prayer, and it kind of goes across the meek crowd of mourners there. There's like 5. And there's one guy that, if I can get a screen grab of, I'll put him up right here. And they pass over him. And I swear he looks a lot like Ian McKellen, right there, who played James Whale in a movie about him called Gods and Monsters, which is a good movie, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so I was like, that's kind of funny. That's kind of a weird coincidence. We also get to see Dwight Fry as Fritz and Colin Clive as Henry, lurking over the procession, just waiting there. One of the things I love about this movie is how theatrical it is. And even though the backdrop sometimes isn't perfectly flat, I love the painted backdrop behind them of the night sky and all the slanted angles of everything. One thing they talk about when they talk about the making of this movie was how inspired it was by German expressionism, the movies like Nosferatu and Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and others, I believe, Metropolis, but I possibly am confusing that because I did watch a bunch of extra features and they talked about more movies than just Frankenstein. There's the whole thing where he's throws it's this big scary movie, but then yet you get this James Whale, I think, was the one responsible for throwing in little bits of humor, and so Henry Frankenstein throws a thing of dirt. I'll do it this way, right into Jack's face over there and Sally. But there's a statue of death behind him, and he flings the dirt into his face. Not he's not purposely doing it; he just does it. Filmmaker did it. They did it in the film because metaphorically he is throwing dirt into the face of death by creating a man. But before you can do that, they wait for the gravedigger guy to bury the bury the guy and bury the coffin, put the dirt back on top of it. He has a lot of business, and I always thought, like, is this the Gravedigger movie that we're watching here? Not the professional wrestler, but this guy here with his corn cob pipe. Just digging some graves. Blah 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 blah. So they dig up the body. They go to the gallows, which they had somebody up on a thing, like on one of the mountain passes. There was a guy hanging there. Frankenstein tells Fritz to go cut him down, and it shows Fritz kind of fear of the death of the dead here. That he does get a little creeped out, where Henry's more like, oh, it's just bodies and it's just flesh, blah blah blah. Although he, likes to wax poetic, like, oh, you're just sleeping now. Soon you'll be awake. I got a note here, so I'm just going to say it. I realized that I was now older than Dwight Fry ever was, and that Dwight Fry has done more to become immortal than I have. But I'm doing it with you, my YouTube followers. Comforting. Okay, so the brain in the hung body is no good. The snapped neck, so brain is bad. So he sends Dwight Fritz, and it's Fritz. That's one of the things they're gonna say about the Frankenstein monster movie. I mean, the lore, because of it, it's like you know the lore more than you know just one specific movie. So it's kind of like, if you think of Jason Voorhees, well, he's got a hockey mask and a machete, and he's an undead killer. But if you go back to the beginning movies, that's spoiler. That's not what it's like. Which, if you want to hear more about that, go check out my Friday the 13th series. So he needs a new brain. So he's going to send Fritz to. Wait, did I even say that? Yeah. So his name is Fritz. It's not Igor. Igor is a different hunchback that comes in later. He is not the hunchback that is Fritz in the original movie. But everyone just kind of assumes that his name is Igor because they both have hunchbacks. Makes sense, right? Anyway, so Fritz goes to the medical place, university, and there we meet Edward Van Sloan as Dr. Waldman, who, 6 months earlier, 8 months earlier, we saw as last year for us, for movie-going audiences who went and saw these type of movies. 8 months ago, they saw him as Dr. Van Helsing. And I don't know how people at the time felt about it. But to me, it's like wearing a comfy sweater. Seeing these actors in the same parts be replayed in the movies. So seeing Dwight Fry in a movie is like putting on a comfy sweater. Seeing Edward Van Sloan in the movie is like putting on a comfort sweater. It's he was almost like the good luck. Edward Van Sloan was almost like the good luck charm. Because I don't know if Dwight Fry was in The Mummy. I can't remember at this moment. He could have been, but I don't think so. That they put him in the movies, and I think that's what I had to say. And we'll get there later with Lionel Atwell. I think I got that correct name. I think we'll get there with Lionel Atwell, and I think we'll get there with some other people. Not just the supporting cast. It's nice to see big actors. It's nice to see Boris Karloff and stuff. Karloff the Uncanny, not yet. Just question mark and Boris Karloff. Oh, I'm all over the place. Over there, thoughts are trickling down, interweaving, going this way, that way. Should I write down what I'm going to say and just read it off of the teleprompter, laptop? I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, So we introduce Van Sloan, and he's got like, here's a normal brain, and he's got the lid. It's a brain. He's got two brains in a jar. Normal brain, abnormal brain. They both very helpfully have like a "My name is" sticker on the side of the jar. It doesn't actually say "My name is," but it's like one of those stickers that you put on there that says abnormal, normal, just so there's no confusion. Although apparently the abnormal brain is a little more veinier than a normal brain or something. I couldn't quite tell the difference between the two. It just looked like there was more veins on it, or maybe it was a little darker. But there's something wrong with that brain. It's the brain of a criminal. And then in the whole scene, there's a great gag of people pulling on a. You got a skeleton on a bungee cord. People keep hitting it. It keeps bouncing up and down. Apparently, that's hilarious to the students there. And it was nice to see that this must actually be like a community college because all of the students look like to be they're my age, either in their 30s or 40s. Maybe they did. It was life was tough back then, so people looked older than they do than they were. They aged quicker back in the depression time. I'm only 27. So he grabs the brain, and of course, he's not an incompetent. He can read, so he grabs the normal brain. I don't know why he takes the lid off of the jar. He takes the lid off the jar, picks it up, and he's going to carry the thing, as the brain, in a jar full of liquid, no lid, puts the lid on the counter, and he's going to go off with it. That was just an accident waiting to happen. And then for some reason, there's a random gong, a gong or cymbal smash. It's that guy from Dial M for Murder, not Dial M for Murder, The Man Who Knew Too Much, practicing his cymbal, random Hitchcock reference. And he causes him to drop the jar. Shattered. Normal brain goes skidding across the ground. Uh, um, I guess Fritz is smart enough, or they hadn't heard of the 5 second rule by then, or is it 3 second? 5 3 second, 5 second? Depends on how clean your house is and how clean of a person you are. So he goes back and he grabs the other brain and leaves because those were his only two brain options, which is interesting, I guess. Only have two brains. The man with two brains, and one of them is not normal. Anyway, so and then we do the introduction of the fiance, Elizabeth May Clark, and Victor John Bulls. And it's often talked about, so I'm going to do it too because I want to be part of the club of about the starts off close up of Henry, photo of Henry, close up of the maid. Oh, is it close up of Victor and then close up of her? And then it cuts to a wide shot of this gloriously ornate room with a ceiling and a chandelier hanging down. It's like, look how opulent it is. The Frankensteins are rich. He's a baron after all, which as Americans, we really don't know what that means. But, well, hey, I guess I shouldn't speak for all Americans. I'm sure there's plenty of Americans out there who know what a baron is and what that title, what comes with that title, and what responsibilities are. It really seems to only do like the town that they're in, and I think I forgot to write down what the town is called. I don't think it's called Frankenstein. I don't think it's called Versailles. I can't remember what it's called later on. And it sets up this quasi love triangle. Not really. I mean, she is completely worried about Henry, and he's kind of like, well, yeah, but I'm rather attractive too. You can tell he's got a thing for Elizabeth, for Lizzie. So they go and convince the doctor to go and convince Henry to give up his plans and go home. stop this nonsense of whatever it is he's doing up there. I'm sure it's fine and not against God and nature, but let's just go ahead and get him. And, it's like if they had known, would they have just gone straight there? If what he was doing, I don't know. But they go and they convince the doctor, and so then they go and then go up to. He's in a watchtower. Sorry, I got itchy eye. This is for all you people who have eye phobias to freak you out. Oh wait, my contact popped out. I got it. Sorry. Sorry. Please don't stop watching. I will try and stop. But we're talking, and now I'm doing the ear. Yeah, itching all over. Something must have hit this side of my face. Am I allergic to Frankenstein? Dun dun dun. And it is really nice that by the time they get there, It's very convenient for us, the audience, and them, the filmmakers, that they show up on the night that Henry is he's bringing his creature to life. It's like it happens to be. And he's like, go away, I'm busy. And they're like, no, let us in, let us in. It's like, hello, can't you understand? It's so important. And got to touch on a little scene, which what it was about. I feel like it was about something when Fritz goes down, yells at him, says, go away, go away. What are you doing here? Go away. And goes back up the stairs. He's like, oh, I got to stop and fix my sock. He's like, go up the stairs, help Frankenstein raid his monster. Anyway, they all get in there. Frankenstein's like, fine, come in. I don't have time to deal with you people, so come in, sit down, shut up. You sit down. Oh, honey, please sit down. This is really important for me, so could you please sit down, honey? I gotta say, I don't know, since I'm talking about honey, I don't know if it's because of the Blu-ray version, or the transfer that they did. Mae Clark's looking pretty good in this film. I hadn't noticed. I was kind of like, she's a good-looking lady. Henry, what you doing? Mustache guy's gonna get this good-looking lady. You gotta lock that up. Lock that down. Not lock that up. So, and then one thing I found really funny was, so he's there with his monster, and they're all sitting there, right? It's just him. And people talk about how it's an allegory of the audience watching the movie, kind of thing. He's like, one insane person and three very sane people, right? And it cuts to them, and in the shot of, he's like, three very sane people, you can see his hand coming out pointing towards the people, right? And it's in the shot, his fiance, friend, doctor, and Fritz. So there's four people there, but he's saying three very sane people. I found it hilarious. Such wit, humor. Maybe you wouldn't. And then we get to the creation scene, and we get those great instruments. It's like, how do you show electricity? Well, the only way you can show it is by having it arc between two different things. So, and it's got the flashies. So, flash warning for if flashes give you migraines or epileptic seizures, or what if you're photosensitive. I was trying to think of what being photosensitive caused, but if you're photosensitive, you might want to do that for this scene, or however it is you deal with that, because it's a lot of never seen it acted better. I'm sorry. It's hard work podcasting. And the lightning strikes, and it's alive. And I'm gonna say, besides this scene here where they show the monster kind of thing, I think this is the scene that they were talking about. Before James Whale got involved, and before Karloff and everybody else, there was a gentleman whose name I didn't write down. So maybe if I think about it, I can find it and put it up here. Bam! Who really wanted to do the movie. Was really convinced he could do a good job doing it. So one night, I believe, if I'm remembering this correctly, he put together a 20-minute um, how he would have done this creation scene, and I believe he grabbed people from the Dracula set, and so he got I think he got Sloan and Van Sloan and Dwight Fry, Eddie and Dwight, and they got him. I think if I could be wrong about that. I'm just memorizing here. I didn't write this down. And then Bela Lugosi, of course, as the monster, and then apparently he did, this. I don't know if I've got a screenshot of Golem, German silent film series. That's what it's supposed to have kind of looked like, and that Bela Lugosi was like, "This is stupid makeup. I'm not going to do this," kind of thing, and turned it down. So some story says he turned it down and said, "I'm not doing Frankenstein because he's just a lumbering monster who doesn't do anything. I'm an actor. I'm an actor. People want the accent. I can't double. I'm not double jointed, but if I can't do the mesmerizing, then I can't do it correctly." So that was the big rumor for a long time. I know I'm sidestepping into a making of thing, sorry, but it was kind of like Carl Jr. looked at it and was like, "This is terrible. We're not doing that. Let's get Whale to do it instead," and kind of moved from there. So there's kind of this. I feel like I've heard three different streams of thought on the matter. That Lugosi said, "No, I'm not going to be doing this part because it's just a lumbering, stupid monster." And then, Frankenstein became a big hit. And that was one of the reasons he then never turned down a role again. There's that legend. Then there's a legend that, he did it basically because the guy needed him to do it. And probably like didn't like doing it, but I don't know if at the time Lugosi was a contract player, because I think if he was a contract player, he wouldn't have much say in the matter, as I've been told by people online when I was talking about Lon Chaney playing the mummy was for the money, and he didn't have a choice in it because he was a contract player. And maybe Lugosi wasn't a contract player at the time. Maybe he never was. I can't remember at this point because this is mostly focused on old Karloff here, most of the extra features. And last year was the Lugosi stuff. So watch my old episodes. Maybe I talk about that. Anyway, so it really didn't have anything to do with whether Lugosi wanted to be in the role or not. He probably wasn't horribly excited about the screen test that he was in. But there is publication stuff that came out that said Lugosi as Frankenstein's monster. I think I remember seeing that. I believe that's out there. So I don't know how far down the process this one guy, whose name I'm sure I posted by now, did. Back to the show. And your hand comes up and it's alive! It's alive! Now I know what it feels to be God! And that part will get edited out in different countries from the 1930s. If this video goes back to 1930s, it'll be cut out. "If I know what it is to be God" was a line that got cut or got taken out. Like it was, you could still see him say, but there was like lightning strike over. Sure, that worked great. Until the DVD release in the 1990s. This one, no, this one came out in 2006. Whenever Van Helsing by Stephen Sommers came out. But there was a DVD release. I believe that's right. I don't think any of the VHS tapes have it right. I never got this one on VHS. I think the only one I got was Phantom of the Opera, which I don't know if I still have anymore. There was black mold in my childhood bedroom, so a lot of stuff got thrown out. I am mourning here, and I can't bring it back to life like Frankenstein did, which is a lie. I could probably buy it all if I remember what it is. Anyway, eBay. So Frankenstein's alive. It cuts back to Baron Frankenstein. He's got I can't remember what those are called right now, but he's got growth right there that I kind of, it's just kind of a random bit of realistic uh, body horror. It's not body horror. It's just a natural thing that happens to people, but it can freak some people out. And but it has nothing to do with them. Doesn't make them anything. It's just a fact of life. Like how my cheeks and nose look, and how I'm bald, how I've got moles, whatever. I don't know. Why am I tangent about this? Because I feel bad about saying he's got a growth on his neck, and that it weirded me out. But it's true, so I'm owning up to it. So they get the Burgermeister. Is this the Burgermeister's first scene? Not the Burgermeister. Well, the Burgermeister does show up in the scene and says, "Hey, when are we getting married? We've got the whole town prepared for this wedding. When is this wedding?" And Baron Frankenstein's like, "It's got to be a woman. I know it must be a woman. Get out of here, Burgermeister. No one wants to talk to you. Everyone hates politicians. I'm just a baron." And the Burgermeister is like, "Look how pretty this lady is. She should get married." It's like, okay, buddy. "Yeah, we'll get married when we get married. What do you want? Us to set a date so you can decorate and get food ready and all that stuff?" Sorry. I don't know why I found that funny. Oh, it's Frankenstein. It's getting to me. So there's that scene. And then it cuts back to Henry and the doctor, Dr. Waldman. Waldman? Chatting, just sitting around a table chatting. The doctor's like, "You've created an abomination. We must destroy it and rip it apart and stuff. It shouldn't be alive. We shouldn't." That's more the Burgermeister. No, that's more the bear. And Henry's like, "Haven't you ever wondered what it is to be dreamed about what might be? Don't you have an imagination?" Kind of thing. And consensus is that this is a scene that James Whale put in as kind of a reflection of his own philosophy. And so they're just sitting around and discussing this. It's a lovely little scene. This is a little palate cleaner, and then the monster comes and there's stomp, stomp, stomp. It's like, "Oh, he's here. Let's turn off the light because he hasn't seen light yet, and I want to show him light." And then the monster comes in. The door creaks open, and he walks in backwards. Can I do it? Without knocking everything around, so he walks in backwards. Slowly turns around. That wasn't my drink, so that's okay. And it goes. Well, it wasn't like that. Yes, he looked stoned, guys. He looked like he hadn't slept for a while. "Hey, guys, what's up, man?" No, he looked creepy and heavy eyelidded. He looked like this. And I got some things to say about this thing. I got questions about this. The way the two guys are sitting there talking, they're kind of like talking almost like they haven't had very much interaction with the creature. Yeah, I'm going to call him Frankenstein's creature. I might call him monster, but I am definitely talking about Frankenstein. I'm not talking about the Black Lagoon at all. Okay, but he comes in and he's fully dressed. He's got a smile. No, he's got a jacket, he's got a shirt on, he's got pants, and he's got big boots on that are laced boots, I believe. And so they're tied. You know what they say in all the special features is that it's supposed to be like one of Henry's old suits. And so that's why it's so short. It comes up to like there on his arms or something like that. I got the toy right here. Let's see. It comes short on his arms. He's got the T-shirt. He's got pants and he's got boots. And maybe they're just boots. Maybe they don't tie at all. They look like, I mean, because of the dynamics of the toy. They look like, oh, they have little flowers in there. I didn't realize that. That's a different video. We're not talking about the toy right now. So that's how he comes in. Two things here. Who dressed him? Did Henry dress him? Did the creature dress himself? That seems highly doubtful. Did Fritz dress him? Possibly. It possibly could have been Fritz. You'd find that hard to believe given how Fritz treats him throughout the rest of the movie. But maybe it was just such a pain in the butt getting a t-shirt on him, the jacket on him, buttoned up. Let me get these shoes on you. Maybe they were boots, that had to go up. There were a certain type of boot that was really big and clumpy, which I forgot which it is. Why don't you get the DVD and listen to the commentary tracks on there? But he's supposed to have one of the things was he's supposed to have big hands and big feet because apparently when you die, those things, the blood rushes to those areas and pools, and so you have big hands, big feet. Swollen, as they say, as the professionals say, swollen. Where was I? So yeah, maybe that's why Fritz is so angry at the monster afterwards, because he had to deal with getting him dressed. And it begs the question of whether the monster is wearing underwear, if they were like, oh, well, he's got to be wearing underpants because it's, you know, oh, how could he? How could he not be wearing underpants? What kind of mad society do you think we live in where he's not wearing underpants? Um, anyway, they got that all on there because when you see him in the scene, he's got bandages like around his hip area, covering all his groin and all that area, and he's got some covering across his chest stuff. But you can see his fleshy tum tum. You can see his legs and his arms and stuff like that. His feet are completely bandaged up, and then like these big square slabs. It's like they got ran over by an Acme truck. Yeah, it's like who dressed Frankenstein? That is the question for today. The other question for today is how did Frankenstein know to go into that room? Where was Frankenstein? If he's the way they shoot that area of the watchtower is that there's basically a room and then there's a little hallway with stairs going down, and then you imagine stairs like a little landing and then stairs going up. This is how I always imagined it, and then down, and then you've got the entrance door with a little room that they use to lock up the creature. And who let him into the room? Who got him in there? Who got him to go into the room? Who was he downstairs in the one room and then Fritz brought him up? Did he wander up the stairs on himself by himself and then wander in there? Did they get him dressed and then put him in the hallway, then grand reveal him to the two doctors? Because it almost felt like that's what was going on. I mean, it was a grand review for the audience, obviously, but it almost felt like it was a grand review for the two doctors. They're like, okay, we did this, let's see how he's going to be and how he's going to act and everything. We're so excited because we haven't been getting him dressed and moving him around the the watchtower at all. So it must have been Fritz, except Fritz runs in a little bit later and is like, where's the monster? He's gone. Where's the monster? Waving his torch around. Where is he? So maybe Fritz took him downstairs, got him dressed, became very angry about dressing him. How difficult that is. If you're a parent, you have tried to dress a toddler or a newborn, but I would guess more toddler ish. You know how frustrating that can be sometimes, especially get him in a nice nice outfit to be presented to people. It can try your patience. Not that I'm recommending, not that that's any justification for how Fritz treats Frankenstein's monster creature, um, because it's not, not implying that at all. I'm just saying we've had a taste of it, or you've had a taste of it. I've had a taste of it. I think people who don't have kids can imagine. It's like one of the reasons they don't have kids is because they're like, oh my gosh, could you imagine trying to dress a toddler in a nice suit that's too small for him so he can go get pictures taken with his creator? Sorry. Anyway, so maybe Fritz did all that, brought the monster upstairs, and was all like, oh, man, I forgot my torch. Stand right here. Don't move. I'm going to go get my torch, and then we're going to go inside. Okay? Stand right there. And that would explain why the monster backs into the room, because he's just standing there. No, I was like, and he finds himself in the room. Like, whoa, this wall moved. What's going on there? Turn around. Oh, hey, people. Anyway, so all that nonsense is going on, which isn't nonsense. Just I made it nonsense by talking about it for 20 minutes. They're skimming over the beautiful scene of when because Frankenstein has a theory that once the creature sees daylight, he's going to be transcended into a normal human being or something. He's going to feel passion and soul or whatever, right? And so he does. He opens up the thing. He opens up and he's raising his arms to the sky. And I don't know if I saw this in something else, but I was watching it, and you see the lines on his arms, so his arms had been sewn together, right? He's just like reaching up as high as he can to get to the light. And I was just like, oh, he's gonna pop some stitches. He's gonna reach, and he's just gonna pop those stitches. That was a worry of mine, but of course it doesn't happen because it's 1931. Maybe that's from like a. I feel like that's got to be from something that I'm thinking of, like a Reanimator film or something. I don't know. Maybe one of the remakes. Anyway, and so then Fritz comes in with the torch and he's all, where's the monster? Ah! And the monster, of course, is like, holy crap, this guy's trying to burn me, man. What the heck? And everyone's like, oh, calm down, calm down. He's like, no, I'm not going to calm down. Total toddler meltdown. And Frankenstein, not really a very good father at this point. We'll see in Son of Frankenstein how he is considered as a father. He's just all like, "Oh, come on, let's get him and take him down. Let's tie him up, take him down, and then chain him in the not really the basement because it's right next to the entrance door, so it's the den, the foyer, the living room. I don't know." But they chain him up in there, and then he's just like, oh my gosh, I've been totally wrong about this. He's a monster. He's everything Sloane said was right. Oh no. Why does Edward Van Sloan have to always be correct? And he just kind of gives up on him. But then there was a thing. I'm sorry. Earlier in that nice quiet scene, Frankenstein's like, well, you should know the brain came from your university, your very own laboratory, whatever it was. And Sloane's like, the brain they took was an abnormal brain. He's like, and he just, Colin Clive does a master class, double, triple take, whatever it is, of the realization, the pondering the outcome, pondering the possibilities, and dismissal. Outtake, no, not outtake, double take, triple take, whatever.
Was a criminal brain. Oh, well, after all, it's only a piece of dead tissue.
And it's just a very lovely piece of acting by Colin Clive. I don't know if there's enough said about the great work that he does in this movie. Everyone really focuses on Karloff, who does a beautiful job in this movie. The whole cast, I think, does a great job. I mean, John Bowles really doesn't have much of a character to work with, so we can't quite blame him for that, can we? And even May Clark is a little bit on the stereotypical side, but there was something about her this time watching that um, was mesmerizing, magnetic. She did a good job. I was in with her plight. I felt for Elizabeth. Tangent much? He says, "Come away, Fritz," and he leaves the dungeon. And like 5 seconds later, Fritz is like, "You don't like to get dressed, huh? How do you like fire? Fire!" And he's like, which is, they shoot that, and it's like some of these torch scenes. They obviously, it was before the Union. It was before health and safety. It was like, how how can they get away with all that torch waving and just like stuff? There, there's a scene with Frankenstein and the creature battling, and gets the the torch falls on the ground at the end of the movie. Colin Clive like rolls over the torch, and they're still like trying to fight. And he's like kicks the torch out of the way because he's like, "We're gonna get burnt here if this torch remains where it's at." So yeah, and of course, it's a clean gate. Keep it. I'll give you a little extra flair. And so, like the next scene is Henry and the doctor reading, I guess, his notes or whatever about like what are they going to do with the monster, the creature, I guess. And then they're like, you hear a scream, and they come down, and oh, he has a whip at one time. I've totally forgot about the whip. Fritz comes in and is like, yeah, he's like whipping the guy, Karloff, and so they come to hear a scream. They come down, and the monster has hung Fritz with his bullwhip. Poetic that he got hung when he was so afraid of the hanged man at the beginning of the movie, like perchance he saw a vision of his future. Two, that the weapon, the device that he was using to torture another human being, although an undead creation from a scientist, but still was torturing somebody with, was the instrument that got used to his demise. And I gotta say, I honestly don't blame the creature. Fritz got what he deserved. And I'm the kind of person in my horror movies that if somebody is a jerk in a horror movie, mean or cruel or otherwise, that they should get their comeuppance and die. That's how I feel. Although I'm really sad to see Dwight Frye go, because I really do love him as a film presence and an actor. Boom. So there. They decide it's time that, oh no, we got to kill this guy. They're like, okay, let's get. It's like, we're gonna drug him. So they get a vial, drug him to knock him out, give him some Valium. No, give him some sleepy good time juice. And the plan is to lure him out. So Henry lures him out of the thing, and then Sloan's supposed to jump on back and jump on him and stick him with the needle, which goes with some roughhousing. And of course, that's the time that Victor, Elizabeth, and the Baron Frankenstein decide to visit the watch house. But luckily, Victor comes in early, and you're like, okay, well, Victor, help us put the monster back in the room. He's knocked out now. Carry him back in there. Victor, go up and clean yourself up, so you're presentable. And so they come in, and the Burgermeister, not the Burgermeister, the Baron, the whole time is just like complaining about the whole time. It's like, I'm rich. Why is my son living in such squalor? What's going on? And the guy's got a nice house, got a nice wife. What's he doing up here? He goes up to his laboratory, and It's kind of like when you hear stories about film directors. It's very stressful to make films. It's long hours, a lot of decision making to do, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of dealing with other people and other people's stuff. So it's very stressful, blah blah blah. And so you hear stories about filmmakers who go, they make their movie, and then as soon as that movie is finally either in the can or is finally presented is finished, all post production is completely finished. They then just like break down and get not mentally, but just become sick. It's like all my I was fighting off the illness the whole time, and now that I don't have this movie that I have to actually finish on time, I'm gonna let down my defenses, and all the germs are like, yay! That's what happens to Henry. He goes, collapses there. So next time we see him, he's at home, and they're like, oh, let's just get married. We're gonna forget about it. Dr. Van Sloan is going to dissect the monster for me, or kill the monster, or whatever it is, the creature. Um, so they're going on with the thing. They're going to get married. Next day, why not? Hey, I've had 24 hours rest, maybe 12 to 15. The doctor's got it. We don't need to worry about anything. And then he cuts to the doctor, and he's all like, the sedative really isn't working so much anymore. He's writing that in his notes. And he's going, and he's got a kit filled with, bone saws and scalpels and stuff like that. And he puts it down on the monster. The monster's laying on a slab. I don't think they have him clamped down. They might. They might have him clamped down, but he's supposed to be super drugged, so he's not coming up. What I found was really funny in this scene is like right next to Karloff's head, right next to the creature's head, there is a ring, and it's like a coffee cup stain. It's like one of those rings. It's like right there by the monster's head. Henry or Fritz was like when they're making the monster, they're like drinking their coffee or their tea, putting it right next to the monster's head while they do a little bit of sewing. It just tickled my funny bone. But you know what doesn't tickle the creature's funny bone? Being dissected. So I don't know what the doctor is doing, but he leans down to listen for the monster's pulse, heartbeat, and of course the monster reaches up behind him and grabs him and chokes him. And then he escapes the watchtower to run amok in the neighborhood. Meanwhile, everybody's getting married. Wedding's going on according to plan. Everything's great. As far as we know, Sloan is taking down the monster, taking apart the monster. Even though Henry's all like, "Hey, have you heard from the doctor? Is the thing done yet? Huh?" And the bride, Elizabeth, like comes out in her wedding dress and is like, "Henry, I have to talk to you." And I don't know if these people don't know that it is bad luck for the groom to see the bride in her wedding dress on the wedding day. Apparently not. Because they do it. She's like, come into this room here. It's like, okay, I'm coming into this room. I feel like something bad is going to happen. And that there's this great tragedy coming over us. He's like, no, it's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. At least I think that happens then. I might not. There's a bunch of stuff happening. Blah blah blah. Oh, and then the Baron like does the champagne and stuff. Is like names off at least two of the more of the movies because it's like to a son of Frankenstein, to the house of Frankenstein. I don't. He should have said to the bride of Frankenstein because she's right in the next room. Getting married and just label to the ghost of Frankenstein. What are you doing, sir? When Frankenstein meets Wolfman. It's like, sir, what are you even doing? Didn't happen. Just the son in the house. He says to the house, to the son. Two movies that happen to be in the legacy. The monsters prowling the countryside, just doing whatever. And he comes across this little Maria. Little Maria, the woodcutter's daughter. The woodcutter's like, okay, I'm cutting some wood. Now I'm going to go over here. Or I'm going into town. I don't know what he does. It is what every person did back then and just left their kid by the lake. Because that's where their house was, by the lake. And she has a kitten. Cute little kitten. And Karloff, the creature, comes up, meets the little girl, and she's not scared of him. She's all like, "Hey, what's going on?" She's all like, I can't form words yet. I actually puts the kitten down. I'm pretty sure. They don't see it. It cuts away, cuts back, so you don't actually see it. But she's holding the kitten, cuts away the monster or the creature. And he's kind of walking forward, and she wants to put the cat down because the next thing you know, the cat's gone. It's like I ain't sticking around, lady. It's like that guy is an undead creature. So he comes in. There's a touching scene where she teaches the flowers, like they have in the toy there. Throw in the flowers, they make a little boat kind of thing, and he's like, "Oh hey, I don't have any more flowers to throw. Let's throw you in the lake and watch you float, huh?" If it was a '80s comedy, it might have worked for him, but it's not. No. He throws her in, and little Maria, I don't know. She says he's hurting him when she picks when he picks her up. She says that he's hurting her, and he throws her into the thing. And I think she says like two more things, and he's like, ha 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 ha, yeah, we're having water fun. And next thing we know, he's freaking out because she didn't float, she sank and drowned. Poor little Maria. That was a part that got cut out also for a really long time. I don't know if it wasn't until the 1990 DVD release or if it was until like the 70s or sometime that part got put back in. I don't remember that information. Sorry. But that was something that got heavily cut also. So basically, it got cut to where he was reaching towards her, and then the next thing you knew about little Maria was that her dad was walking through town holding her, and like one of her stockings is like halfway down her leg. A lot of the people in the documentary and stuff were like, especially to modern audiences, an eviler connotation about what happened than him just trying to see if she would float, having fun, not really realizing anything because he doesn't know anything, that he unfortunately kills this poor little girl. Completely accidental. Might be his only accidental death, accidental killing. Might not be. He might tear down some stuff and kill some people. Not in this movie. So we're cutting back and forth from the wedding to the town. The town's all partying. They're all getting out and doing their dancing and lederhosen stuff, having a great time. And then, the woodcutter comes in with his poor dead girl and is all like, she's been murdered. Bex asks the question, how does he know that? Did he see the monster? And he had to have seen the monster moving off. So he probably came back to the house, saw a figure of a man walking away from his house, and that his daughter was then in the lake drowned. I'm going to go ahead and make the assumption that is what happened. Because then he has to deal with the truth of the matter of who was responsible for her death. This a supposed murderous creature rampaging through the woods, or the negligent father who left her beside a lake. But no, that's not the case. It's the murder. It's the Frankenstein monster, the creature kill, accidental homicide, or regardless, or whatever, accidental manslaughter, whatever that's called. Anyway, and then at the wedding at the house, the Frankenstein house, word gets to him somehow that the doctor has been murdered and that the creature has been seen rampaging around. And then he's like, the creature's here. I don't. Maybe my sound system wasn't very good. I did watch it at night after people went to sleep, so I didn't have it like blaring loud. But I couldn't hear the creature at all. So I always thought it was Henry's kind of imagination playing with him. It's like, oh wait, I hear him up in the attic. Go up the attic. No wait, I heard something down in the cellar. Goes down in the cellar, and maybe it was just like people doing stuff for the party. Waiting staff accidentally knocking over something, and then he's like, "Oh, that must be the creature. Let's go check it out." But of course, the creature somehow makes his way to the house, even though I think, well, Earlier, you see a deck where it's pretty countryside and maybe even the lake or a lake in the background that might be the same lake. I don't know. So it's possible the monster came up that way, came up under the deck. He comes in through the window where Elizabeth is at. Henry has this phobia, this trait, this character defect where he likes to lock doors behind him. He doesn't, when he creates the monster, he lets the three people in, he locks the door so nobody else can come in. And then when Elizabeth is all worried about stuff, he leaves her alone in her bedroom and locks the door behind him. So she's in a locked room by herself. Creature comes in through the window. There's a lovely scene where he's like, slowly walking towards her, and she's, pacing around the room worried, and then she goes, yeah. It's like, "Rrr," which is kind of it's kind of a comedic because it's kind of like almost you could kind of give it a little bit of a like, hey, hey, baby. But she freaks out and runs away, and so Henry hears her screaming from the attic, runs back, or the cellar, wherever he is at this point. He runs back down, gets into the room. The monster is leaving, and we see her draped across the bed. So we don't know exactly what went on there, but there wasn't really time to really do anything. But I don't know if they leave it ambiguous or not. I can't remember because I believe there was one cut or one version of the script maybe where both Elizabeth and Henry die. So she's laying on the thing. Nobody says she's dead in that scene. It's just that she's been attacked. And then Henry tells Victor to stay here, take care of Elizabeth. If I don't get back, she's all yours. Then chase off, gets with the Burgermeister and the woodcutter, and they all go off to hunt down this killer. I don't know how many people of the townsfolk know exactly what is going on at this point. I think they just think some escaped lunatic is roaming the countryside, killing people. I don't think anybody at this point knows that Henry made a sewn together a person from body parts and brought it back to life. Or why would they have him with them in the search party? They'd be like, okay, well, that's an affront to nature. You can be house arrest or be in our jail. Not let's go comb the countryside, which is they do. And then they split up. The Burgermeister's like, okay, you woodcutter, you take the lake. I'll take the fields. Henry, take the mountains. So they all split up three different ways, and there's all this footage of mad people running the mob torch scene. First time in a Universal horror movie, won't be the last time that we see that footage of the mob. Oh, have a mob or the footage of the mob. So Henry goes up the mountain, and that's where the monster's at. And they have that big torch fight that I said, but monster beats up Henry. He kills some other guy, I think, or he beats up some other guy. And so they all come up there. And I don't know, Henry must have had more area to search because once they find the beat up guy, like the Burgermeister and the woodcutter, they're like there almost immediately. They're like, okay, we got to fan out, search for this guy. And Henry goes off and he's like, no, 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 you fools, it's over here, over here. And they don't listen to him. It's like, and climb up here by himself. And he gets stalked by the monster. There's a big duke out, and he gets singed and knocked out. And then they go to a windmill, which, growing up nowhere near a windmill, especially one that, grounded wheat or other grain, I find that fun and interesting. So they go in there, and there's a nice scene between the monster and the doctor in the windmill. It's also the scene when Karloff had to carry Colin Clive up the steps or the ladder or whatever it is, take after take, that he ruined his back and had 3 surgeries for. Um, that's when that happens, I think. Could be wrong. Lovely shot as the windmill's going around. There, it's got a thing inside with different spokes and stuff like that around. So you go looking through it at the creature, at Frankenstein. They beating each other up, and they're fighting. And no, Henry, I think, makes a break for it, and there's like a balcony on the windmill. I don't know why those are there, if it's for function or decoration. But he runs out of the balcony, more struggling. All the villagers are down there with their torches. They're getting ready to They might. I don't think they start burning the mill at that point. I think Frankenstein throws. No, not Frankenstein. The creature throws Frankenstein off of the balcony, and he hits the windmill blades. It's like obviously a dummy. But at this point, do we really care that it's obviously a dummy? I mean, come on, get in the drama of the piece. I might take you out. It's possible that floppy limbed dummy can take you out of the drama of the film, but it's the 30s. Come on, man. And Frankenstein's hitting the thing. He's like, and there's like, oh well, we don't have to worry about him hurting Henry. Let's just set the thing on fire. It all burns down. He's like, fire bad. He doesn't talk yet. He goes inside and he tries to run down the stairs, and flames flow up, and then it kind of collapses in on him, and then the monster creature is dead. Yeah, well, there's 8 films, so he's not dead, but the thing collapses, and townspeople are happy. Cut back to the Baron. Is all like, okay, maids, let's go get this champagne or wine or whatever it is to the newlyweds, or the engaged couple, the soon to be newlyweds, because now that nonsense is over, they can get married. And he brings it, he opens the door, and you see Henry recovering in bed, and Elizabeth there, giving him tea or feeding him crackers. I don't know what's going on. And he's all like, well, this is wasted on them. Let's close it. And he's, another toast to the House of Frankenstein, the last movie to have Frankenstein in the title. No, Abbott and Costello. From the classic monster series. I'm not, disregarding any of the Hammer films. I'm not disregarding Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I'm not disregarding I, Frankenstein. Frankenweenie. I'm not disregarding any of those movies. That's where they end the movie. Good cast worth repeating. Bam. The monster was actually Boris Karloff. The reason they did the question mark at the beginning was apparently that's how they did it in the play versions and in previous. So it's like tradition. And that's the movie. And I loved every frame of it. You know what about this movie was? Made the same year. Well, not made the same year. Came out the same year as Dracula. Dracula has no soundtrack except for the beginning and the end credits. Same thing with Frankenstein, but you don't see them slapping on a string quartet to do a score for it, because it doesn't need it, because you don't miss it. I didn't miss it. I was like, oh yeah, there is no score on this thing. You don't get the no, that's Batman. The Frankenstein, the monster theme that becomes so prevalent in the later movies. So that's pretty cool. That's nice. Okay, special features on this Blu-ray box set. The Frankenstein Files, How Hollywood Made a Monster, which is about 45 minutes long, made in 1999. Karloff, The Gentle Monster, a 38-minute documentary made in 2006. Which talks, about the life of Karloff, about how he got the gig. He was dressed up as a gangster in his nice finest, and James Whale saw him at the cafeteria at the studio and was like, just thought his face would be great for the monster, and which kind of Karloff kind of found, funny, kind of found insulting. It's like, here I look my nicest, and this guy's like, hey, I want you to play this horrible, a disfigured monster. But I think he did something with Lon Chaney Sr., and Lon Chaney told him that if you can find a niche, if you can find a character, be a character actor, if you can be a typecast, that is not a bad thing. If you've got something that nobody else does, that they only want you to do, then that's great, because you've got a job for however long I mean, he probably said for life, but for however long um, you're in the industry, you've got jobs. And it was in that, I believe it was in that documentary, that his daughter talks about how Karloff, obviously, because he's playing the monster, the Frankenstein monster, who he doesn't think of Frankenstein as a monster. So he always referred to him as the Frankenstein's creature. So that's why I kind of refer to him as the creature to kind of just join that bandwagon, Frankenstein's creature. Although I can understand monster is scarier, and we already have a monster called the creature. So, or the Gill Man, whatever you want to call it. Monster Tracks, which is an information track that plays along with the movie. Relatively interesting. A lot of stuff, repetitive stuff. There's only so many stories you can tell, so many different angles that you come through. But it's kind of nice to be able to read it because it kind of sometimes helps reinforce the information. I did not find myself bored at all. There is an hour and 35-minute documentary making called Universal Horror, which basically covers everything from the Hunchback of Notre Dame to Wolfman, I think. Thing that also surprised me though is that it goes into other movies, definitely the German impressionistic movies like I mentioned earlier, Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, Nosferatu, and the Golem. It also does like Warner Brothers movies, like the Mystery of the Wax Museum, which I talked about earlier. Kind of like, oh, I'll check this movie out. Gave me that impression. So it talks about other movies other than Universal movies, which is kind of nice. It tells you, just kind of gives you what the idea of what the horror scene was in the 30s and the 40s. Frankenstein Archives, which is a photo gallery, a slideshow with music and dialogue from the movie. So it's a little more entertaining than just being like click, picture, click, picture, click. Boo, a short film, which I didn't write when this was made, but it was obviously made sometime in the 30s, possibly early 40s. I don't know. It uses footage of Frankenstein. So it's basically like trying to make it's a comedy film, like a guy eats too much at bedtime and then has nightmares. Guy looked like somebody, silent screen actor, like Harold Lloyd, but I don't think it was Harold Lloyd. I can't remember. No, maybe it was Harold Lloyd because I don't think it was Buster Keaton, but it was somebody that looked like a silent film comedian actor. And then cuts to scenes, and there's like this wacky voiceover throughout the whole time, being like, well, look at this guy. He's eating too many. He's eating milk with pastrami. He's gonna have a nightmare. And oh, here's Dracula. Here comes Dracula. He's stocking up the thing, and he kind of does this wacky voiceover. The weird thing is they don't use the Bela Lugosi Universal film Dracula. They use the Murnau film Nosferatu for all of their Dracula stuff, which I found interesting. I guess Universal bought that and then used it in this thing. But the thing about Nosferatu was that the widow of Bram Stoker was like, "You guys, this is obviously Dracula, an adaptation of the book Dracula by my husband, and you didn't give me any royalties for it." And so the court order, famously, the court order was that they were all supposed to be destroyed. Now, I would have found it extremely sad and not funny haha, but funny pathetic, funny ironic. It would just be really weird to imagine that if all the other prints got destroyed and they made this movie, this little short film, and used footage from it, but then like the original film got destroyed after they used the footage from it, and this was the only surviving footage of Nosferatu. I'm glad it's not that way, but I was just like, oh man, what if this was the only footage of Nosferatu? That would be so sucky. That would. um, anyway, so they use that, and they use I don't I don't think it's Cat and the Canary. I think it could be Cat Canary, but I think they remade it Cat Creeps or something like that. They definitely used some of that, um, if I am remembering the Universal horror documentary correctly. And then scenes from Frankenstein, and then so there's wacky things, and they intercut together. and it's all supposed to be wacky and funny. Obviously, for the humor, back in the 30s, 40s, whenever this short was made, repetition was what was funny. So people falling over, the same shot of somebody falling over like 5 times, a shot of somebody going, it's hilarious to them. That's a lot of what this humor is. Feature commentary, 2 feature commentaries. One from film historian Rudy Belmer. Hopefully I got that right. I'm terrible at names. It's a very informative, very good commentary. And then a feature commentary by historian Sir Christopher Frayling, who is British. So it sounded better because everything with a British accent sounds better. No, he was a little better than Belmer for my taste because he was a little more energetic, a little more enthusiastic. Not that I'm saying that Mr. Belmer is not enthusiastic about the movies, but it's a little dry academic, just a little bit. And you see him in the making of things. Probably, I think he's in all 3 of the things. Definitely in the Frankenstein Files and the Gentle Monster. Karloff, the Uncanny. There's a trailer gallery that shows all of the Frankenstein movies, except there's no Son of Frankenstein, there's no House of Dracula, and there's no Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Not sure why those aren't on there. I feel like I've seen the Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein trailer, but they were not. And then 100 Years of Universal Restoring the Classics, which I believe was on the Dracula one, also probably on a lot of movies being restored after the 100-year anniversary or for the 100-year anniversary. Just talking about how they restored the movies for the Blu-ray release to give us the best presentation that they possibly could. That's so compared. What is this, like a 2-hour video already? Yeah, 2-hour video. Sorry, guys. Frankenstein. The DVD had the trailer for Frankenstein, the audio commentary with Rudy Belmer. So I imagine that it was made for the 90s, the same time the Frankenstein Files was made, 99, possibly the 06, but I doubt it. And then on the House of Frankenstein disc, they have some more special features. Stephen Summers on Universal Classic Monsters, Frankenstein's Monster, which these legacy collections came out around the same time that the Stephen Summers Van Helsing movie came out. So they were kind of like a cross promotional type thing. Hey, get to know the movies that created the interest. Why are we making this Van Helsing movie? Because we love these movies. So he talks about it and gives you an exclusive behind the scenes look at how these original Frankenstein films inspired his motion picture event. Man, they pushed that Van Helsing movie hard. Man, did that Van Helsing movie not live up. That is just my opinion. I own it. I have it. I watch it occasionally. Last time I watched it, I got to admit, I was a little judgmental. But there it is. The Frankenstein Files, the Frankenstein Archives, which is the photo gallery, and Boo. Can't get enough of Boo. It's got to put that on everything because it's wacky, good, fun. So that's it for the first one. Frankenstein. Thank you for sticking around this long. And I hope you continue with my journey through the Frankenstein legacy as we move on to The Bride of Frankenstein. Hey, watch my movies. I'm out of focus. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching. Huh. That is funny.